Depending on where you are listening to us in this big, beautiful globe we call Earth. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Jason Burns.
And I'm Danny Nucci, and this is the What About podcast. What about it?
I have to say, what about this episode, Danny? Because never have I ever thought I would be talking to a Globemaker.
First of all, I don't even know how we got Peter on this podcast. He is, what an interesting, amazing dude. I'm just thinking, you know, when I got the research pack for this and I started looking at his work, I was just blown away. I mean, the man is a visionary and an artist.
And he's somebody who didn't find that vision until much later in life, which is incredible.
No, and it was an accident.
Yeah.
And I just love the story of how it started
Mm-hmm.
and what the germ of the idea was and what it developed into. And I mean, he makes a great case for keeping a beginner's mind and not getting too far into the future about what the result is going to be, because it's turned into this incredible business, beautiful business.
Imagine going into something, like you said, a sort of nugget of an idea, and then 20 years later becoming the sort of top person in that field. It's incredible.
Right, but what's fascinating about him is that, you know, it started off with this kind of interesting creative project, and then it sort of took him, and he talks about it now in the same way that I would think when he started. He's got that same sort of freshness and joy and passion for it. And you guys they'll get to listen to it right now.
They'll get to listen to it, and they'll get to listen to our very interesting topic with Peter, which is the flat Earth theory, because we thought who better to talk about that with than somebody who makes the Earth.
So, as we say, without further ado,
let's do it.
Hello, Peter.
How you doing?
Good, mate. Where are you? What part of the world are you in?
I'm in Dorset. I'm having my car electrified, and I've had to find somewhere miles out of London to get it done, because otherwise it costs a fortune. So I've come down today. It's been in there about 4 months, and I've come down today. We're going to have a look at it tomorrow. So we've just been at a local stately home. I'm with Jade, who's my partner.
Hold on. What do you mean by you're getting your car electrified? Please elaborate.
So I don't buy modern cars. So I've got a 1961 car, which is a V8, and it's had the engine basically
removed,
expired. So the engine. So I either needed to get a new combustion engine or upgrade it to electric. So it's being upgraded to electric. So
that's outstanding.
And the car it's horrendous. It looks like
not what I expected you to say.
I know.
No. It was obviously beautiful and painted in 1961. It's a Bentley S2, one of the old things, like in the film. Do you remember the film Arthur? With that kind of and so it looks like it's been parked in the sun for 50 years. So the paintwork is shot. You can actually search on Instagram, put Bentley in Spitalfield, and you'll find it. It has so many. I park it outside my house, and it has so many people photographing it.
So you create these beautiful globes in your life that doesn't carry over to your automobile. You're like, we don't want to have any beauty on the car itself.
No. It's I underplay it. 9 out of 10 people I drive by have the biggest smile seeing this piece of shit, excuse my language, driving down the road.
We can curse here. Feel free.
Yeah. So it's got such a wonderful patina.
So I had no idea about you, Peter, which now I do, which I'm very grateful for. And I had no idea about the topic. So I was coming to this with complete open eyes, not knowing what to expect. And two things were impressed upon me. The first one was the way your book is formatted. I didn't even get past the globes. I just looked at the way your book was formatted, and it was so fascinating and easy to read. And I wanted it on my coffee table book for the purpose of people coming in and going, you got to look at that. Let me make you some coffee. You got to look at this book. It is absolutely gorgeous. And so when I started reading it, I was fascinated by your odyssey, your journey, how this happened, the genesis of this. I'm very interested in the genesis of this. And so for the people that are listening that know nothing about you, I want to set it up. So here you are. You're taking a break. You've decided to travel across the Middle East and North Africa. And on the way, you have this idea that it would be a wonderful gift to give to your father, a globe, an actual globe, some really cool globe that you could present to him for his birthday. And this was in your head as you were walking through or going through this trip in the Middle East and action.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I obviously the kind of chronology of how everything works is I had the idea that I wanted to just buy my dad a globe, and then we happened to be going traveling, and as I was traveling, I was checking out artisanal countries to see what they were up to. And because I went through that, and I went through this 2-year process of learning everything, not just about, and this is over many years as well, not just the initial 2 years, but learning about PR and marketing, and learning to talk on podcasts, learning to have my photograph taken. I hate having my photograph taken. I really hate it. And Jade, who's both my partner and does all our PR and marketing, she's actually from LA. She was a model at the age of 12. She hates having her photograph taken even more than me, and I think it was punishment. She loved punishing me. She was like, it's men who made me this model at the age of 12, and I'm punishing you and making you do all this stuff. So I had to learn all these things, and it's been such an interesting story that I've always wanted to write some sort of book, or have it put down some sort of document that I can just give to all our customers who get large globes. We send globes that we sell for from 1,500 to £100,000 to people, and we give a little booklet at the moment, which is the size of a passport. And I feel slightly ashamed that that's what we're giving someone, this amazing thing, and we're giving them a little passport. And trust me, we've only been doing a passport for a year or so. Before that, it's just in some cases nothing.
Enjoy your globe.
Well, it's in some cases nothing. It's almost like the beginning of the book, where I'm embarrassed to give my dad presents, so I give nothing rather than give him something bad.
Which I completely related to, Peter, because my dad could never be appeased by anything. So I said, why even bother?
I think that's like 20% of dads. It's like, you know what? It's either got to be amazing, or it's I'm just not going to do it.
No, I've worked it out. Since I'm a reader, I just make a list of all the books that I want. Yours will be on there for Christmas and birthdays, and they can pick and surprise me, whichever one it is. There's a list, and that goes on and makes it easy. You can find it. My only prerequisite is that it be a hardcover, because I enjoy hardcover books. But I've solved it. It's easily done.
But now, Danny, the problem is your dad's going to see a £100,000 globe and want that globe.
Yeah, he'll be like, "Why did you only get me the book? Come on."
Well, what's interesting is I was as I was reading, I was thinking, because I've been to Marrakesh, so I have this incredible visual of you looking through the souks to try.
It's not. No, it's not the souks. I mean, I said in the book, I went on the back of a bike I guess a mile outside. I was on the back of a moped trying to find this stuff. This was actually a couple of years ago, and seeing all these foundries. They're foundries in the back of your house. They're like, they've got guys in the front of the house, like knocking away and chipping away on various different objects. And there was one guy using a lathe. He had some brass work on the lathe. He did actually have glasses on, but there were just shards of metal like flying off 1,000 miles an hour. And
like Iron Man.
Maybe I can find a globe here.
It's incredible that how there are various countries that have artisans, many countries around the world that have them, and there are some that do it and continue to do it.
And so you returned on this trip, right? Basically a fruitless search for said globe. And then you talked a little bit about, it was 2008, so there was the housing crisis, and you were in real estate. Is that?
I was playing around a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so here you go. I think I'll start a project. And this was the globe, right? This is where it came up, where you said, okay, I'm going to start this. I've got this idea. I have the time. I can do it. Let me move forward with this idea. Is that right?
Yeah. And I was overconfident. I thought it would take me 3 months and a few £1,000s. And
but that's what makes it beautiful. If you knew what the undertaking, I mean, I can speak for myself in all endeavors.
I would no way. No, I mean, if I got to the position where I am now, I would obviously always do it again. But if I had thought how difficult it would be at the beginning, I would have never done it. And that I think is why there've never been that many Globemakers in history who've really done that well, because you can invest hundreds of thousands of pounds in this and you're nowhere. You're literally nowhere, because until you've worked out how to put the gauze onto a globe, the flat paper onto a sphere. And I was talking to a paper restorer a couple of days ago at a talk I was giving, and she said to me, I've been working in this in paper my whole life. How do you do this? And she's like, 65. I'm like, well, give me a year and a half of your time and I'll begin to show you. But it's not only that. You have to have the right dexterity with your hands. You have to understand art. It's almost like an artist. You have to be at a certain level. And I don't want to push myself as being some sort of great artist, but you have to have an understanding of materials, and you have to have the patience and the persistence to just keep on going.
This is what you discovered as you were putting this together. The other thing that I loved is that you added a third person to start this project, and your thought was, which I thought was fantastic. You know what? I'll do a third globe, and I'll pay him in a globe.
Yeah,
that'll be that which I thought was fantastic. And it actually,
I was trying to keep the costs down. Little did I realize it would have been so much easier just to pay him money, because the costs of making them are astronomical.
You know, Peter, you mentioned having to have like the skill set and the dexterity, but do you also have to be a little bit of a masochist?
But that was my naivety. I didn't realize I was going to put myself through this. I thought it'd be over in a few months, and then I would just get back to property. So it's one of those things. When you look back at the best globe makers in history, they're Coronelli and Blau, and Coronelli was making globes in 1684,
Crazy.
And they're the most beautiful globes. They're stunningly beautiful. So if they were doing it then, how can someone who's as able as me but how can anyone in the modern world not be able to do it? And it's it is this the real USP of what we have. The really difficult thing is putting a flat piece of paper onto a sphere. It's just horribly difficult, and you can't every day you do it. You can't just come in and do it every single day. You should see our team now when they are making globes. They are so focused. You
can't have 12 cups of coffee either, right? You can't have shaky hands.
You can't come in after a big night. You have to be in the zone. Otherwise you're not being fair to yourself.
I have this vision of you sitting at some point in this early on in the process going, I got to what? At what point did you go, all right, I'm all in? Or did it never come to that? Did you think, okay, because obviously as I was reading a little bit about what the process is, it got more and more difficult. Materials were harder to find, and the vision of your globe that you had originally was harder to bring to fruition because of the challenge of finding the materials and being able to put it together the way that you had in your mind.
Yeah, it's just the fact that I was practicing all the time, and you would get better and better and better and better, and then you'd like slump back down and like, hold on, this is worse than I was doing it a month ago. And I'm the things that I'd seen other globe makers doing, where they're cutting out bits of land to make the paper stick and not have ridges in. I was like, is that how it's going to be at the end? Am I going to be making all these compromises to make a really good globe? But it's just it's there are so many there are so many things you learn in this process. Just simple things like making sure I had the right glue, understanding paper properties. I didn't even understand paper properties at the beginning. Paper's wound so that it stretches one way more than the other way, and I didn't even understand that at the beginning. And that's something that cost me thousands of pounds to establish. So that's a kind of simple thing that most people will work out.
I would imagine too, you would have to learn just how to ship these amazing globes so that there's not even the slightest box bump possible that could ruin the work you've done.
And how to ask customers the most important question: how big are your doors before ordering?
Did you learn this from experience? I was going to say.
Everyone in Miami had to be winched up 20 stories on the outside of an apartment because it was too big for the lift. We had a wonderful, amazing Spanish customer who has a castle in northern Spain, and he wanted to get this 80 centimeter globe, and he knew exactly the room it was going in, and he phoned up. He came to the studio and he phoned up home and said, "How big is the door? I'm sure it's over 80 centimeters." And they said, "No, sir, it's not over 80 centimeters." And he said, "Peter, it's over 80 centimeters. I'm going to go back there. I'm going to measure it myself. I'm going to ring you and tell you it's over 80 centimeters." So he got home and he phoned me and said, "It's 55 centimeters. But don't worry. We're going to smash down the wall. You're going to deliver the globe. We're going to put it in situ, and then we're going to rebuild the wall." So the globe is now imprisoned in this room.
Do you have a lot of customers that live in castles, Peter? Because we don't have a lot of conversations with people that have friends or acquaintances that live in castles.
I mean, we obviously ship many globes to younger people, but we do have some customers who have grand houses, which is wonderful. Sometimes I insist on delivering the globes myself because I figure
you want to see the
be,
spot.
Yeah.
We're talking about big globes. What is the biggest globe you've created thus far, and do you have bigger dreams to even go bigger?
So the largest one we make is a 50-inch globe, 127 centimeters, which is pretty much the largest size any printed globe, which is what we do, which is either you can have a printed globe or a manuscript globe where you just write everything on.
And is that a museum globe, Peter? Most likely
No. We're only ever making 40 of them, and we've sold, I guess, 25 now, and I think one or two have gone into either museums or hotels or wherever. Most of them go into private homes. Is
that the majority of your business are private owners that just enjoy the artisan craft of globes?
Yeah. It's there's just so many ways that a globe resonates with you. Both the construction of it is amazing, the cartography is amazing, the geography is amazing, the physics of the whole globe is amazing, but also many of our customers, they might have artwork themselves, and they have artwork on the walls, and you look at it, and I'm kind of looking at a red blob on the wall over here as I'm talking. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm over that one. This is something. It's a piece of art. It really is. Our artists our painters are amazing. Quite a few of them teach at the Royal Drawing School. They're really amazing. The way.
Oh, they're extraordinary. The globes are extraordinary. Yeah. I mean, I would love to see one in real life. I mean, I just saw them through the book, and they are just outstanding.
It's just a piece of art that you can interact with. That's the thing.
I thought what you really need to do is create a series, and I'm being serious here because I come from a marketing PR background, a series of trading cards about all your globes so that each one gets its own spotlight.
Yeah. I mean, it might be a long series, but it's a good idea.
At what point did you realize that the changing of country names and borders and all of that was going to be a problem in continuing to bring these globes out? Because that was one of the fascinating things about it. Is like, it may be timely. There may be some small country in Africa that changes borders and names tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When I first went to buy a globe, and I consider myself relatively well read, so I should have understood this. But you go into a globe store and you don't see all the globes are the same. They all have the same artwork on, and you just don't imagine, I guess naively, that there are issues, and obviously there are issues. And China will not. If we ship a globe to China, it will be impounded if we and destroyed if we put Taiwan on there. We have to put Chinese Taipei, and likewise, there's an issue with the Indian border, and there are various countries in the Middle East that will not allow a globe to go in. To get through customs with Israel on that. Now, certain things we will do, and certain things, like the last one, we won't do. It's with China, we have no choice. Though interestingly, in China, it's the customs that have the issue. The customers, half of them, when we say it has to be Chinese Taipei, they're like, why? Why does it have to be Chinese Taipei? They're like, well, hold on, you're all the same. You're this big blob of communists. You all want Chinese Taipei on there, don't you? And it's interesting to realize that actually it's the guys at the top who are pulling the strings, and the regular population they're not bothered.
Customs is basically the same thing as the width of a door frame, right? You got to get through customs in order to put the globe up.
Yeah, they are. It's the most wonderful job in the world if you're doing it, because you are so unaccountable. You literally are. If anything, the first globe I sent to America, we use a balancing system where we put lead weights on the inside so that the globe smoothly rotates. And the first one I sent to America, rather than using a Geiger counter, the local customs agent used a hammer to establish the contents.
Oh no!
And it's like, and then they neatly lined up obviously the north of South America is in the northern hemisphere. They neatly lined that up with Africa for when they tried to put it back together so that the customer didn't notice.
Like before the Big Bang, they were together.
It was a fault line.
They connected. What about flat Earth theory?
What is your opinion on a theory that sort of defies what you do for a living?
I hate to ever. I want people to work out how things work by studying facts and understanding. And the flat Earth theory is essentially based on the fact that people don't understand something, so they don't believe that the globe is spherical. There are so many tests you can do relatively easily to establish that we're living on a sphere. And I would encourage anyone to do some of those tests just to prove for themselves that the sphere is spherical. I've actually did quite a bit of research, but I've got to go on a quick a Word document too, because I can never pronounce the name of the guy that I've referenced in the book. Is Eratosthenes.
Easy for you to say.
It's so impossible. I've written it as Eratosthenes. Eratosthenes. It's so difficult.
Eratosthenes, sure. Eratosthenes, I got it.
Eratosthenes. Greek, thousands of years ago, established that the globe was spherical.
Yeah, we're talking like 3rd century BC, right? Like we're talking way back.
Like way back. And I don't want to say to people you're demeaning things. I just want to say, look at the facts. Let's look at the facts and let's try and understand where we are and the reality of the propositions that you're putting across. A lot of the propositions are based on not understanding things. So I would encourage those people who believe in the flat Earth theory to challenge those things that are not proven. Like I was I was actually watching about half an hour ago. Mark Sargent. I don't know. He's quite a big
Yes,
one.
he's a big flat Earth theory guy, responsible for recruiting many people into
Yeah.
believing that the world is flat.
What's
Yes.
fascinating is that when I proposed this to Danny said, "No, what is there? Two people that believe the Earth is flat?"
I was unaware. I was completely unaware, or I thought it was a very small group of the population, like a small cult. Little did I realize that this is not only quite prevalent, but they have large conventions with intelligent, well-read speakers that speak on the subject. It fascinated
Yeah,
me.
yeah. I think a lot of their speakers may be well read in the arts and literature. They might be less well read in physics and
Science,
science.
yes, of course.
But it's astonishing. And
But no,
I read that 7% of Brazil, for instance, believe the Earth is flat. I mean, fine if you're asking people a question and they perhaps don't have very good education, you're going to get a percentage who will always say the opposite of what you believe to be the reality. But no, it is astonishing. I wanted to do a straw poll downstairs in the bar of people before I came up here to see.
I wanted to do the same thing in my neighborhood, and I said, "Do I want to know if one of my neighbors believes the
No, I
world is
didn't. I
flat?"
didn't. I didn't actually want to tell anyone I was going upstairs to my bedroom to do a podcast on the flat Earth because I want to have some interesting conversations later. But
Sure.
But it's one of those things. I just encourage anyone who believes in the flat Earth theory. Because one of the propositions Mark Sargent was saying is he was on breakfast TV in the UK, and he was asked what's beyond the ice wall that goes around the edge.
right, because one of the theories that flat Earth people have is that it is flat, and then Antarctica goes on forever, and it just becomes ice into infinity. Just for people that didn't understand it,
Yeah, but they don't quite know what it is. It's like he was asked what's beyond there. We don't know. It's like, well, you seem to know. Seem to know that the Earth's flat. It's
Yes.
Come on. You need to start doing the research. Don't just say stuff. Do the research and let's find out the facts. And I think that's important.
Yes, and so much of it is also looking up in what's around us. If we can physically prove that Mars and Mercury and all these other planets that are within our solar system are spherical, then why would we then be flat?
Yeah.
Well, the thing that's fascinating to me is okay. I try to keep because I read an article about it, and I just try to keep an open mind about okay, why is there such a need to give voice to this theory, come up with explanations for gravity, and I'm just curious what you think. Why the I guess the prevalence and sort of the headstrong attitude about no, this is right.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I was doing research, and a lot of it is down to, and I completely understand, is down to distrust of authority. We're really. You've got a similar thing over there.
Sure.
Our politicians are just not believed anymore. I think it almost started.
I can't imagine why, Peter.
No, I
just
know.
Can't. I can't fathom it.
Trustful bunch of people, but they're just there's so many things they do that then get proven to be wrong later, or they don't have the evidence for. I mean, starting, I guess, with the Gulf War, where this ridiculous thing with the weapons of mass destruction, and from then on, and then our politicians all got found out to be getting expenses for putting in little duck huts in the middle of their pond in their garden. That they were pushing that through the parliamentary expenses, and so we don't trust them any longer. And a lot of people who don't trust them and are not necessarily in any sort of political scene. And I'm not in a political scene, but I keep myself well read politically, apart from anything, just checking out boundary changes and things. But But
yes, you've got to stay on top of that, especially if
yeah,
there's a civil war in Kazakhstan or one of the stands. You don't want to get the wrong stand.
no, exactly. But it's kind of I understand why people don't trust people. I don't trust them. I really don't trust them. I think they all seem to have motives for being in what they call public service. I don't know why it's called public service. I mean, it's like, why is what you're doing? You get free tickets to any sport you want to go to, any concerts you want to go to. You travel all around the world in government planes, and it's public service. Well, I would like some of that public service. It's quite seems to be quite. It has good strings attached to it.
But Peter, do you think, like, you mentioned how we don't trust our politicians, but is that a sign of the politicians or a sign of the times? Because could, like, Churchill exist in 2023 and be trusted?
Yeah. I mean, he was a master of PR, including his Globe that he was given in the US Army gave him in 1942. He was incredible, and you look back how the world has developed, and over the 50s and 60s. Do you remember all those films with, like, the con men from the 50s and 60s,
Sure.
where the one person who realized that everyone believed everything they said, so they just make up anything and they sell them whatever they want. And we've obviously gone a long way past that, but it's when politicians are saying things and people in authority are saying things that later get proven to be wrong. And they've been adamant that they are correct. That's when conspiracy theory kind of kicks in, because it makes you think, well, hold on, they definitely lied about that. We know they lied about that, and that's a small thing. So that's a small thing. So why aren't they lying about that? But the thing about the flat Earth theory is the fact that there would have to be so many people in on it, like millions of people, like all pilots, everyone working in any space agencies, and you just look at them. There's leaks from every single company across the planet. No, this story wouldn't hold.
But therein lies the problem, Peter, is because you could have a million pilots that say, I go up in the air, I can see that the planet is round, but there'll be one pilot who's like, in a chat room somewhere, who says, one time I went up there and it seemed pretty flat to me. And then they cling to that one.
I don't want to go on his plane.
No, thank you. Well, it is. I was, from what I read, it was a lot of conspiracy theorists as well. But do you think that because it gives them a sense of their own certainty? Like, I know it's not true. And we all know it's not true. And it gives you a sense of community that sort of justifies your paranoia.
Yeah, I think it gives you, maybe you're struggling to understand the conversation you're having with people who understand physics to a higher level than you do. And it's easier to engage with people who all don't understand various things that they perhaps weren't listening to when they were at school. There's comfort in numbers and all believing in something, even if it's not necessarily true.
It would make your job a lot easier, Peter, to make flat models, right? So I think that's all the truth we need.
My goodness, think about it. Think about that, Peter. You've missed your calling.
This is a new business model. It's so much easier. We can just it's going to be so much easier. I can fire all the makers. We can just have a little disc.
What is the process again? Where you're doing those kind of spherical pieces of the globe, and you have to put them on. What is that? It's a G word, I think.
They're gauze.
Gauze, yeah. Which looks quite time consuming and can go wrong quickly.
Yeah, I could cut all that out. It'd be a one-off process. The only problem is I think the market would be slightly smaller.
Sure, of course, yes. or it could be a specific market.
I know the flat earthers are growing in numbers, but
it would be easier to get them through doorways.
Yeah,
that'll be another benefit.
And we could do an inflatable one for those people who didn't believe in the flat Earth, so they could blow it up.
There you go. You get the best of both worlds. So one of the things we like to do is we like to ask, having somebody in the one of our listeners ask a question. This one's a bit cheeky, so forgive me, but I thought it was funny. Is it against the rules to sing "I've got the whole world in my hands" while crafting a globe in your production office? Asks Tony L.
No, we don't. We actually don't have any globy songs. We do hear. I get interviewed by quite a lot of journalists, and frequently their taglines on their stories will be "He has the whole world in their hands," or there's so many ways of planting some cheese at the beginning of a story. It's kind of I rise above that one.
Now, will you pipe in music while they work? I mean, do you guys have, or is it very focused?
Are we gonna sing it?
No, we're not. No, you and I are not going to sing it.
Oh, thank God.
God, I wouldn't put you on the spot like that. No, the question is, when they are making the glows, is there music? Are you piping music in?
I see. No.
It's all very focused and serious.
They'll be listening to podcasts or music or whatever. They won't be looping "I've got the whole world in my hands."
Peter, I got one last question for you, and it's a personal question, because I saw that you used to run a bowling alley. And as Danny knows, because we talk about it on the podcast, I recently joined a bowling league, and I need some tips. What do you got for me? Something to help my game.
Don't put the thumb in the thumb hole. Okay. So just put the two fingers in the finger holes, and almost have your hand. I mean, this is ridiculous, an Englishman talking to an American about bowling. But anyway,
no, this is outstanding. Please go on.
And whip it through, and get it spinning loads and loads and loads. You'll look like a pro. It might go in the gutter 90% of the time, but you'll look like a pro.
I mean, I can't wait. I want to see is he going to actually send us a picture of that car? Because I want to see a picture of, a sun-dried old Bentley with a brand new electric engine. What a great idea. I mean, obviously, if you can afford it, take these like a beautiful old Dodge or a Mustang and make it an electric car. I love that idea.
I love that he is going to all this work. He even said they had to travel really far to get this work done on the car. And yet,
to afford it, because it's too expensive in London. I love he made a trip out of it, though. How great! Well, we're just going to go to Dorset and have a lovely trip, and Jade and I are going to chill and look at the beautiful scenery and wait for the car. And there's a pub downstairs. This is terrific. I like the way this guy rolls.
My goal now is to reach out to Jade, find out where some of those globes are located here in New England, and go on the non-private residence one. I'm not just going to walk into people's houses and castles.
I was going to say, hi, Jason Burns. What about podcasts? Can I look at your globe, please? May I please look at your globe?
Any public globes, I'm gonna take a look, because I really do want to see one in person.
Well, it sounds like they're a rarity, the public globe.
Yeah, well, then I guess I will have to break into a castle or two.
You may have to go to England to see you may have to go to a castle in Spain.
Well, Danny, I hope that on this next one out, we have something as interesting and as cool as flat Earth theory.
Oh, I can't wait. Listen, I'm on strike, so this is fantastic. I just learned about things I had no idea about, including reading about flat Earth theory. Blew my mind. So I'm glad we got to discuss it with Peter, and I want to say to the listeners, thanks for listening.
Music by Denny Nucci, produced and edited by the same two people you heard hosting this show, because they have no friends.